Our spring tour in Germany, 20 City Spring Tour, was canceled, followed by summer festivals that were canceled both in the United States and in Germany.
Ethical Brew has been closed down due to the pandemic like everyone else, as is my personal business.
Everything else is like gone. All the other work is gone. And
really done anything but grocery shop, which I've become very good at.
This year we've struggled with underwriting. It makes sense businesses out there are struggling and don't have the extra money to advertise.
Thanks for the opportunity to tell you about it.
Hi everyone, and what I miss the most, my biggest challenge during COVID, is I miss seeing you.
Zoom can't detect my microphone. My default has changed. Also all these amazing things I never thought I would have to learn, right? Because I would just say things like, well, Pete's got that.
My name is Ellis Paul.
Hello, Sonia Disappear Fear here.
Hi, I'm Jess Spanoff. I'm the music director of MVY Radio on Martha's Vineyard.
Hello everyone, this is Perry Stein. That's Stein from Ethical Brew.
Hey everybody, it is Jess Fratzi here.
Hey everybody, Joe Crookston here.
Hey everybody, my name is Izzy Hiltai. I'm a singer-songwriter based out of Western Massachusetts.
Hello music lovers, this is Dan Godfrey, treasurer of NERFA.
My name is Justin Nordell and I am the executive director of the Philadelphia Folk Song Society.
Over the last year, I have had the privilege of participating in the planning of NERFA 365.
Reassessing and trying to share information and Zoom discussions and content around artist and venue needs, specifically during a pandemic.
Some news about the Northeast Folk Alliance Mentor Program. Biff Kennedy and I have been working very closely with the programming committee at NERFA to put together a year-round online mentor program and sign up to meet with, to have conversations with, to learn from, and get support from mentors in our community. Right now, it's essential. We all have so many questions as we move forward in the uncertainty. So we look forward in early December to rolling out this online mentor program. Stay tuned. If you would like to be part of it, we would love to have you. So the NERFA Mentor online program coming soon. Take care, everybody, and be safe.
There are already a number of ways that you can connect with people. Most of us are familiar with Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, but what we're looking to do with 365 is a little different.
As has always been the case in NERFA, one of the most impactful ways that we all grow together is through sharing with our peers. There's immense value in discovering how a fellow musician, presenter, or other music professional is meeting the challenges of furthering their careers, especially in these changing times. NERFA 365 is planning to host a number of opportunities for groups of peers to gather together to reconnect with old friends, share stories of the successes and challenges brought on by the pandemic, and to learn from each other.
There's lots of songwriters at NERFA who want to hear what you're doing. There's a lot of venue owners that want to hear what you're doing, radio people that want to see you do it in a tiny little hotel room where you cannot help but be, in the moment.
I was brought on to the NERFA programming committee last year to plan workshops and panels dedicated to diversifying our community and member base with hopes of being a more inclusive space for all types of people. This year, we're still actively taking steps to do that.
One of the key components of NERFA's success over the years has been the level and professionalism of the panels and workshops that we've offered. It's always been our goal to strive to present to you ways to increase your proficiency in the ways that you are presenting yourself, in the ways that people perceive your product, in the way that you can market yourself, and to do our best to give you the tools to get in front of and impress every person that you perform in front of.
As part of NERFA 365, NERFA is going to be offering monthly juried showcase opportunities. That is right. NERFA is going to be able to present you in front of presenters like me and so many others of my colleagues to be able to have your music showcased for us so that we can find ways to present you perhaps digitally in a virtual or digital concert venue or in person when we're able to do that again.
I really love NERFA a lot and love helping them out any way I can.
This place, NERFA, is the right place to go out, meet people, create friendships. I'm not just saying connections, but create friendships and community around your music and learn how to be better at doing it. Not just with business, but with songwriting.
We're in the early phases and we've got a whole lot of hurdles to jump. We are absolutely dedicated to serving you, our community, and the people that we care about.
Well, hello everybody. Thanks for tuning in tonight. My name is Izzy Heltai. I am here with NERFA 365. And tonight we've got a pretty wonderful panel that has been put together about the small folk club and staying afloat and active amidst a global pandemic. A lot of independent venues and small venues and concert series are feeling kind of the backlash of what it means to not be able to be in one space together and see live music. So I am here to chat with three wonderful people from three wonderful venues and performance spaces in the Northeast, kind of about the strategies they've taken to like reassess their needs and reassess how they're going to be making revenue during all of this. Again, my name is Izzy Heltai. I'm part of the programming committee here at NERFA 365. Going forward into the new year, we are going to have wonderful programming and Zoom panels going on bi-monthly, twice a month. I know that can either be every 2 months or twice a month. Anyways, we're going to have Zoom workshops and panels going on twice a month going forward. So if you want to check that out, please go to the website. So without further ado, I would love to introduce y'all to our wonderful panelists today. So we have Kathy Sands-Bamer from the Me Thee Coffeehouse in Marblehead, Massachusetts. We have Reese Fulmer from Caffe Lena, which is a wonderful listening room space in Saratoga Springs in upstate New York. And then we have Jared Libby, who is the sound engineer at the Parlor Room. He also works at Signature Sounds, which is the record label attached to the Parlor Room, which is a listening room in Western Massachusetts in downtown Northampton. Hey guys,
hey.
Welcome.
Hey, hello.
Yeah, I know it's a funny medium. This is my first time doing a Zoom panel, so I don't know. I never know where to look, but I'm gonna, I think, do some quick bios for you guys. So Kathy. Kathy is the booking and publicity manager at the Me Thee Coffeehouse in Marblehead, like I said. So Me Thee is one of the oldest continuously running all volunteer nonprofit coffee houses in the country. And Kathy has been working there, I just found out, since 1998, right, Kathy?
Yeah.
You're volunteering there. And when did you become part of the board?
Oh, probably about 5 years in. I kind of went from pushing chairs around in the house crew to publicity and then taking on the booking as well as the publicity. So it's kind of snowballed.
Amazing. And so, for those of you that don't know, like I said, it's all volunteer run, and Me and Thee Coffeehouse is a concert series run out of a Universalist church in Marblehead with a seating capacity of about 225.
Yep.
Yeah, opposed to it's like so the other two venues. So I guess we have Reese Fulmer here. I'll intro him a little bit. He is the community outreach coordinator at Caffe Lena, which is so Me and Thea is one of the oldest continuously running folk venues. Caffe Lena is the oldest continuously running folk coffee house club in the country, right? Starting in 1960.
Yep.
And so it is also like Me and Thea, it is a nonprofit, and pre-COVID could seat about 110 people. And with COVID, you guys say you're reassessing like 25 you can fit now?
Yeah, we rearranged the whole room.
Yeah. Yep. But so
we haven't been able to use that 25 capacity really, but
that's fair, but it's there if we need it. So Reese is first and foremost a music lover. His role at Caffe Lena, he's able to channel that passion into supporting I read that wrong. But his main focus is creating community, whether that's in-house, on the road, through one of their outreach programs, or online. Since March, that has meant steering the Caffe Lena live stream strategy and building its virtual presence across a diverse range of platforms. And so they have a pretty beefy YouTube, Vimeo, and Patreon Reese is pretty hands-on and working on. And that brings me to our last panelist, who is Jared Libby, who is works at the Parlor Room in downtown Northampton. Like I said, it is a listening room, much like the other two, but it's a for-profit, right? It's not. You guys are a nonprofit, because
we're all for the money.
Well, it's an independent record label, so I'm not sure about that.
It's very similar to a nonprofit.
But it's the listening room of independent Americana and folk record label Signature Sounds, which is in Northampton. The capacity is about 105. And so Jared Libby has been a freelance live sound and record engineer for about 20 years. And he's been the lead engineer and house manager at the Parlor Room since 2014. Jared has toured the country also as engineer with the Julian Lodge Trio and Rachel and Vilray, working at spots like the Lincoln Center and working and running stages at festivals like Green River, where I met him, which was Fresh Grass Festival at Mass Mocha, and then Wilco's Solid Sounds. And then in 2020, it's also included here, Jared has managed the live streaming efforts of Signature Sounds, which is, something we're going to be focusing on today. So that is our wonderful panelists. And guys, I'm so happy to have y'all here today.
Thanks, Izzy.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And so kind of like to start it out, I just wanted to open it up and ask you guys kind of generally, just like not like going too far into detail, but it's like for those that aren't familiar, it's like what were your venues or spaces kind of focused on doing pre-COVID? Like what was the main revenue stream where you just like, what was the trajectory of your 2020 prior to all of this?
I can answer that.
Amazing. Yes, I guess let's start out with Kathy. Let's go.
We were sky high. We were celebrating perhaps our most successful season ever. We were having a 50th year series of shows. We do shows weekly, and we all shut down on March 6th was our last show, and totally that kind of took the air out of our balloon, so to speak. And what can I say? So I think we're going to be talking later in the evening about how we pivoted. So, but
so you guys were doing like weekly programming?
We do weekly. Yeah, we take the summer off, so it's essentially the school year.
Okay.
So yeah.
Okay. So. Yeah. Wow, that is quite a shift. All right, Reese, how about you guys at Lena? What?
We had a similar situation. We had a very successful 2019, and we had a lot of momentum going into 2020, which this is our 60th year. So we had a lot of celebrations planned for the summer, or we were working on plans for them at least. And we were focusing on expanding quite a bit of programming, actually. So community programs, the Caffe Lena School of Music, and the Caffe Lena School of Music was supposed to launch the week of March 14th or 15th. And so it was just about the worst timing possible there. But yeah, so I can also get into much more about, after that, how we adapted. But I would say, same situation. We had a lot of momentum. Typically we have programming 7 days a week. It's not all live shows. Some of it's open mics, some of it's poetry and storytelling, jam sessions, stuff like that. But everything had to shut down.
Yeah. And Jared, how about you guys at the Parlor Room? What was going on for y'all?
Pretty much the same. We things were really going exceptionally well. It's our 25th anniversary this year of Signature Sounds. Parlor Room hasn't been around that long, but we had a very busy schedule booked. Green River Festival was already well booked for all of our headliners, and yeah, it all came to a grinding halt on March 14th with John Paul White.
No.
It was not his fault, but we were actually, not only were we going to have a really nice looking spring, full as usual. March and April are usually really, really busy months, 5 nights a week most of the time. We're pretty close to it. And we were actually in the process of getting ready to purchase another building where we would have a 100-seat venue and a 500-seat venue. Wow. And so that all fell through. We were going to buy the World War II Club in Northampton here because the ownership couldn't keep it up anymore, and we were going to renovate it into a venue, but now it's going to be a cheese supply store. So I don't begrudge them.
We all like cheese.
But that was like, it would have been disappointing to lose what we had, but like what we were planning to do was really going to be great. And it just like, there's no chance we're going to consider $1 million mortgage right now.
Yeah. Wow. So it just sounds like you guys kind of all, two of y'all were like celebrating anniversaries. Lena, it seems that it was like really ramping up. It seems like you guys were like gearing up for very big years. So it kind of transitions me. It's like, and what some of you guys we're starting to talk about a little bit, but like, so the pandemic happens, like these shutdowns are happening. No one knows what's going to go on. What was like kind of like the impulse or the gut reaction shift, I guess I would say, where it's like, this is happening. What do we do immediately to like maybe save some of our program? Like, I know it's kind of vague, but it's like opening up. It's like immediately when it happened, like where was everyone's heads at? Kathy, we can start with you again.
Well, I'll never forget that day. Well, one of the first shows we had coming up was a sold-out show with Holly Near, who was always, a big draw in our area. And she lives on the West Coast, so I, hopped on the phone with her, and we were back and forth with her and her agent about what do we do? Should we plow through this? Because we weren't sure whether, it was probably about 4 days before we got the final shutdown, and we just decided we had to be safe and just pull the plug and then deal with it. So I think for the first week or two, I don't know if you other guys felt this, but we're kind of in the state of shock. It was like, yeah, what do we do? So, as the spring carried on and we saw the numbers rising, there was just no way. We just said we're canceling the entire season and see you in September. And when, middle of the summer, we said, no, still shutting down. So we still at this point don't have any plans to open.
Reese, how about you guys?
We had a little bit of a different experience. We actually had John Paul White on March 13th. And
John Paul White.
The curse of John Paul White.
So we actually,
he's a fine fellow.
We had a wonderful night with John Paul, and so that was the night when the 50% capacity rule went into effect for venues in New York. And it was a sold out show. We had to cut half of the tickets. But we still had about 50 people in the house for the show. And we, last minute, we did a big push for the live stream of that show. And he also pushed it out pretty hard because his whole tour after that date had gotten canceled. And so we had like 650 people tune in, which was way higher than we had for a live stream before that. So we had a ton of people tuning in for the live stream. It was very engaged in the chat, and people were very generous in the tip jar as well. And so that night sort of set the stage for us to kind of quickly realize that we had to start streaming right away. And the next day, actually, we had a children's show scheduled, and we went ahead and live streamed that without anyone in the house. And it also was a pretty good success, for an afternoon show. And so basically, we just kind of plunged full steam ahead into live streaming, and we were blessed to already have a great system in place. We have 3 pan tilt zoom cameras attached to the ceiling. That was part of our renovation a couple of years ago. And we had been building up our live stream capacity for a couple of years already. And so we were sort of unexpectedly well prepared to transition into a virtual format. And, eventually at about maybe a week and a half later, we did have to shut everything down and just transition to rebroadcasting archive shows. But just that weekend and the success we had reaching people through the live streams really set the stage for our whole pandemic, experience, our whole pandemic strategy, even until now.
And so, yeah, because you guys really since the get-go have been focused on like in-person streams, right?
Streaming from the stage mainly. Yeah.
That's what I mean, in venue. Yeah. Great. And so then, Jared, how about you guys? Because I know Signature Sounds has kind of done the same thing. So
yeah, I mean, I'm frankly very jealous of having any preparation to deal with any of this. I think we were in a similar boat where like the first 2 weeks we were just like, things were starting to get crossed off, and it was like, okay, this person's manager is canceling. We needed to figure out whether we were taking the lead on canceling things or artists were taking the lead on canceling things. And then it was pretty clear we're all just canceling everything. And yeah, I recall it being about 2 weeks, and we're like, okay, well, we need to figure out how to make an online presence work. And we gave ourselves more of a deadline than we did guidelines of what we were going to do or how we were going to do it. So we just sort of decided to plow forward. Fortunately, some of our local, Signature Sounds talent live locally. That makes it a little bit easier to work with. But we've been primarily doing streams where we're coordinating with people. We've been doing the home sessions where, they play from home, which is like, 50% of my job has been reduced to like talking through someone through their iPhone settings to like try to get them to, or like, this is the piece of software you need to download, and this is what you need to pull up in that menu to make it work. And so we've really just been like putting the cart before the horse almost, and making things happen. And there's been some stumbling blocks along the way. We've tried out all sorts of different platforms. But we've, gotten into a bit of a good rhythm where we can kind of do these home sessions shows. We're now starting to do some in-venue stuff, and, also taking advantage of being able to like pre-tape things and air them as live, which, I think people are forgiving of when it means that they get something that's of a much higher quality, which sometimes that's what happens when you take the time to pre-record it and make sure that you're getting it right before you stream it. Mm-hmm. But we went from a 20 shows a month to 20 streams a month probably in April, and pretty much just transitioned completely there. And for a couple of months we were doing only these home sessions. We picked up a couple of outdoor summer, the Black Birch Vineyard in Hatfield. We did a series of actual in-person outdoor concerts there, and we taped all those for future airing. And I think we're just trying to stay open to new ideas and learning new things. And people have been generous. We've been doing everything as donation based. We haven't really put things behind a paywall, and it's been helping to support us. And that's the thing that's like, the biggest discussion in terms of where things go in the future. It's like, with 1 million live streams out there, can anyone make any money if you're not like forcing people to pay money on it?
Yeah,
I don't know.
It's true.
So
I've found people. Yeah. And I want to talk a little more about that. But Kathy, I kind of want to
be a good live streamer and plug my laptop in though before it dies.
Oh, we'll just lose you, Jared.
I'm not used to being on this end,
Yeah. I know I got you all outside of your comfort zones. You guys are usually on the other end. But Kathy, I wanted to loop back to you just because it seems so. It's like you guys weren't, because it seems like Reese and Jared were like really with adapting with the live stream stuff, and they had some tools in house. How was that shift for Me and Thee, which is like, just like talk about that a little bit, I guess.
Yeah, it was a big shift because we don't have cameras in our venue, and we also are you hearing me okay?
Yes.
Oh, okay, because anyway, also I felt that we didn't have the equipment, and so we all a couple of us, my tech manager, I guess I call him, Stephen Bach, he and I both did a lot of research all summer, like or spring and summer, watching as many videos or streaming shows as we could to take notes on what we thought were good points about them and bad points. And the one thing that we came to the conclusion was that we felt that musicians who didn't have to do all the technical work themselves were much more relaxed and did a better show. And because we just didn't want to throw it in the musician's lap, and like Jared was saying about having to figure out what to plug in and all this. So if we could take control of that, so we dipped our toes into the waters ourselves. The first show we did was pre-recorded. We did it and hoped for the best that we wouldn't get sick, but we did it at a musician's house, and we started off with a 3-camera shoot. So that was equipment that fortunately my tech guy had. But then and we also decided that StreamYard worked the best for us. So we liked the idea of having the intro being live, and then having a musician do one set, and then a Q&A during intermission, and then a second set. And that's kind of how we started thinking about how we would produce shows. In addition to that, we also took advantage of a couple of vendors, I guess you could call them, like musicians and agencies that use vendors like Crowdcast or Seated or Go Seated and those things. So those were behind paywalls. And so we tried a couple of those, and they were fairly well attended. We didn't make as much money as we would if we did with our own shows, but the only expense that we had to do, other than like I bought have a a microphone and a couple of professional lights. And then we have the streaming license every month. So that was the, for $49 or $59 a month. We had to get used to that. So it's essentially just the two of us, me booking and Stephen behind the scenes. So.
And so is that kind of like for all of you guys, it's like, right, so it's like you kind of like shifted, Reese and Jared kind of did the online stuff. Me and Thea is also figuring that out. It's like what is going on today with the venue spaces, and kind of looking forward, and like I know it's kind of a shift, and we're all kind of like this is not ideal. We want to be doing live shows, but has it been like relatively successful, the shift, or like what have you guys found in that respect? Yeah, I don't know anyone.
I can jump in on that. I think so there are basically, I would say, three measuring points that I would look at for the last 9 months or so. And first one being, we've been consistently presenting music, live music, and it's been from our stage. And this sort of, it might be a continuing conversation that we can get into, but one of the reasons that we wanted to maintain the streams from the stage was to try to establish the venue itself as the streaming destination. And it definitely did limit, the artists that we had access to, because there were travel restrictions and safety concerns for people making trips. But we wanted to try to establish the stage itself as the live stream destination. And so, first of all, consistently, steadily presenting live music. And then it like Jared was saying, we experimented with a few paywall protected streams and saw much less success than presenting free streams and emphasizing the tip jar. And people have been very generous for months in the tip jar. And during the summer, we saw a bit of a drop off as there were some more outdoor events popping up, and people trying to take advantage of the warm weather. But we've seen a resurgence through the fall into the colder weather. And so the second measuring point that I would look at is, we've been able to continue offering guarantees on live streams and pretty consistently paying out over those guarantees, just based on tip splits. So that, I feel like, has also been a success. And the last one, and this sort of starts to talk about more of the long-term outlook. But since March 14th, I think, since the day we shut down, our YouTube subscriber base has gone up like 300%. The views on the channel has gone up exponentially. And we've been pretty steadily building a much wider audience base online. Nationally, we even have some consistent international viewers. So, and that's, a benefit of the free shows, just trying to get them in front of as many people as possible on the night of the show. More recently going out directly through artists' pages as well, through a multi-streaming platform, and, emphasizing the tip jar wherever we can. So just trying to reach as many eyes as possible, and long term, hopefully that audience base will turn into a nice additional revenue stream rather than the only revenue stream that's out there. Mm-hmm. So those three things, I think, I've felt like have been successes for us over the last, through the pandemic, basically.
Absolutely. And Jared, how about you guys?
Yeah, I mean, I think at first, I think we were honestly quite surprised by the level of success that we found in making, you know, there were some artists that we were doing shows and we were absolutely certain they were making more money from their living room doing a live stream than the last 2 shows that they did in person. And that was a weird thing to reconcile. I think that's started to tip again. You know, I don't think that we can rely on the same level of generosity and ability to donate to the tip jar, you know, that people were feeling in April when February rolls around, unless things are starting to change a little bit more. But yeah, with the paywall thing, we've wrestled with so much, trying to figure out, like, yeah, do we charge a fee and cut off a large portion of the audience? I mean, I guess it's very similar to the idea of like streaming music platforms. It's like you're giving away something almost for free. Like, do you really get a return on that? And, you know, I think in a lot of ways we have. I think we've been very fortunate from the beginning that we're kind of a diversified organization, being a record label and this in-house venue, and then promoting shows at other venues and running festivals. So that gives us a little bit more of a places that we can pivot our efforts, you know. So we had this opportunity to show up to, you know, have 2 months where we could put 1 show a week on at this vineyard. So it was like, okay, well, we're going to do that for a while. We're going to do live streams also. But, you know, we're going to keep both feet in different ponds, trying to, you know, have a plan to keep moving forward. And so, you know, we're going to continue through the winter doing the live streaming stuff, because that's the thing that seems prudent. We're also going to be continuing to do some more taping from the Parlor Room with live acts, because, you know, as this continues on, I think more and more finding a way to get through the noise of singer-songwriters sitting in their living room to something that, like, people are really going to want to continue to watch is, you know, we gotta be able to put together better production values, better audio, better video, better everything. And it's a very good point that, like, you know, oftentimes the performers that are setting this stuff up at their own living rooms are not feeling comfortable and with the vibe because they've just been hassled by trying to get their audio interface to work for the last half hour, and then there's no one to, like, have fun with while they're performing. So trying to figure out how to make sure that we're keeping that stuff really high quality, and I guess also, you know, making sure that it's remains like an authentic musical experience. I mean, I assume we're all in this because we love music and we want, you know, we love the way that music can connect people, and, you know, I don't know why you would work in a venue if you didn't like the way that music could connect people.
Yeah, well, and so it kind of like what I'm hearing a lot of what you guys are talking about. It's like, right, it's like your role as a presenter has, like, kind of fundamentally shifted, but you're still trying to preserve a lot of, like, what the magic of a live show. Because what's really interesting, like, hearing you guys talk about, it's like you want to still make it as, like, hands off for the artist as possible, because, right, a lot of this stuff is, like, kind of complicated, the tech stuff, and, like, it kind of bums artists out if they get, like, bogged down with it. We have a question about Caffe Lena specifically, I guess.
Yeah, it's more of a correct statement. So back in May, we got essential status from the state of New York as a broadcast facility. So basically a TV studio. Where only the crew that was deemed essential for the broadcast itself and the performers involved in the broadcast could be in the facility for the show. So we've more recently there's been you know, some exploration of what the best strategy, whether to stick with that or try to you know, explore reopening as a live venue, but there were a lot of complications with that. And yeah, so it basically the live stream system that we had in place already allowed us to get that status and continue to bring people into the room where, you know, if we had been classified as a live music venue under state regulations, we would not have been able to continue operating. And I guess I can add that, you know, I absolutely agree with what Kathy and Jared were saying about the comfort level of musicians, you know, having someone else dealing with their tech for the show, because like we've had quite a few people come in, you know, especially later on in the summer and into the fall, when people typically will have a few live streams under their belt at that point. And you know, just the feeling of being on a stage again and doing a regular sound check, and you know, all they have to worry about is playing. It really changes the mindset that they have going into the show, and they can relax a little bit. It's still weird, but you know, it's more of a familiar kind of weird. It's just the fact that there's no one in the seats, rather than having to deal with all of the setup and the wires and the software and stuff like that.
Yeah, and Kathy and Jared, I'll throw it to you guys too. Like, how has your role as a presenter shifted, like kind of curating these experiences, like trying to make the live streams as like just another show as possible?
I've thought a lot about that, and I think it's interesting because during my years as a booker, I wouldn't have usually the artist would send us their spec sheet about what they needed. I would talk to our tech engineer and say, you know, can we check off all these boxes? Do we have, you know, the right number of monitors, et cetera, that are needed? Now I'm feeling like I have to ask more questions to the artists to make sure that they're set up, because some are in remote regions where they don't even have, you know, their, you know, the Ethernet is not stable, or, you know, that kind of thing. So we need to, you know, so we have our own checklist that we give to artists and say, can you guarantee us that you have what we need in order to produce a good show? Because we don't want jumpy things happening, or people getting cut off, or if they don't have the right kind of microphone, or, you know, don't have a computer. So that seems hard to believe, but, you know, it's like, because I've talked to even some local artists who just didn't feel like that they could ask the people in their house to get off the Ethernet, because they were going to hog all the bandwidth. You know, so it's that kind of thing. So it's other questions that you have to solicit from the artists in order to do a show via remote technical devices or whatever.
Yeah, it's a whole different set of knowledge, and
exactly.
A lot of the performers don't have it, and some of them have it, and they're great. Like Bruce Molsky, on it from the woods of Beacon, New York, with like fiber optics at crazy fast speeds. You'd have no idea. But like, then other people, like, you know, we've had people who are like, I'm at my brother's house on the farm in Oklahoma. The satellite works when the weather is really nice. Like, and we're like, I'm sorry, you have to tape something to it, and please try to email it to us like a week ahead of time, because it's also going to take a really long time to upload your video. And yeah, I agree that I hadn't thought about the shift of, like, you know, normally it's artists that are like going to venues, or their management are like, okay, this is what the venue needs to be providing in order for us to be willing to like present our performance with you. But now it's like, okay, if you don't have at least an iPhone and like, you know, whatever bandwidth they, you know, 3 or 4 megabits of upload speed, give me something. And we've milked it for everything it's worth sometimes, and it's like, you know, for me, being a sound engineer, that I consider myself pretty meticulous and like pretty detail oriented, and it really sucks, frankly, to have like some of those details completely out of my control. Like sometimes the internet just goes down. It's not my fault. It's not their fault. It's just a thing that happens, but it's a thing that wrecks all our nights at least a little bit, like, you know. So that's the thing that I feel like I'm trying to avoid. Like you can escape a little bit of like, you know, not the greatest mic, not the greatest camera. You can't escape jumpy, freezy things that don't feel like they have a flow. Like, you know, there is a certain intimacy that comes with like doing shows in your living room, and if you can work it right, it can be a really great thing. But you know, it also means put in the time and effort to make it, you know, better than you sitting in front of your webcam.
Yeah, that actually was one of the big things that played into our decision to emphasize streams from the stage, because, you know, we realized that it would limit the people that could participate in the Caffe Lena streams, but we also knew that it would give us control over the production quality, and the sound and video that people would be seeing would be, you know, consistently high quality. And that was kind of the reputation that we were hoping to build, you know, for the streams themselves, independent of who was taking part in them.
Yeah, it's right. It's like a little bit of a trade-off, because I know Lena's been really focusing on like a lot of local artists you wouldn't have been able to get in there before because of that too,
yeah,
right?
I mean, it's there have been, you know, and like I said earlier, typically we had a 7-day schedule. We were going every night per week, and the programming was at a really high level, and, you know, without our normal pool of artists, there were some opportunities for some people to get on the stage and showcase their stuff that might have just had a harder time breaking into the schedule before. And, you know, some good connections that came from that.
Yeah. And Jared and Kathy, so in terms of like who was taking part in some of the at-home live streams, was it people that were already on the programming, or did you get to connect with like, because I know opposed to Lena, which like really, because it was in venue, you guys focused on a lot of local artists because of like the travel stuff. I know Parlor Room and Me Thee have had some really big names on the live stream. So was that like people you wouldn't have had in before, or were they already on your programming?
We've done a combination. I mean, we started off with our hometown girl, Haley Reardon. That was the one that we did pre-recorded.
Okay,
but the bigger names we had, those were the ones that were done through Crowdcast. So we did not produce those.
Okay.
So so we just took an opportunity to, and Suzanne Vega is another one that we had through another vendor that you get a very small percentage of what the night's take is when you do that kind of event.
Yeah. Yeah, we've done a couple of those with Mandolin,
right?
Where, you know, we're just an affiliate, because of course, like, the idea of touring is now a completely different thing, because you play one show and, well, you just kind of played all of the venues in the same night. Like, what's the difference between one night's venue and the next? If you're not like in a different location. So that's been an interesting thing. We worked, I think, mostly with people that we had some relationship with before, you know, whether it's Parlor Room relationship or Green River Festival. We decided when it was working and we were making enough money, I won't say reliably enough, but enough that we could like throw out some numbers that people were making and be like, you know, we can guarantee, we could guarantee at least a sizable amount for some bigger fish. But yeah, even the ones I think that we did book that were bigger names were folks that we had, you know, worked with in some other context before. Like, it was pretty cool. I was just scheduling like my phone call with Rhiannon Giddens over in Ireland and being like, okay, we've got how many hours are we apart now? Okay, what time are we scheduling this for? And then trying to make sure that, bandwidth on both sides of the Atlantic was sufficient. And
that's a challenge.
Yeah.
Well, the other interesting thing that you have to bear in mind too, and it's like when my strategy for booking when we were live would be a geographic distance, because you knew that the same people wouldn't necessarily come to one venue over another if they're only 15 miles apart or something like that. But now there seems to be a proliferation of artists who are on either weekly or sometimes daily or several times a week. So you have to wonder, well, my audience may not be aware that they're on that many times over the course of a month, but their fans, how much are you pulling the fandom of each artist to watch them that many times? And do they feel obligated to give to every venue? To them, it doesn't matter what venue that is sponsoring them. They just want to see the artist. So it's a
2020's radius clause.
I don't know. It's something that I bear in mind. It's just like, I don't know why our show, unless we, did something entirely different, like instead of them singing, they're going to, juggle or something. I don't know.
One of the things that we've been doing, and this was actually, I give credit to Mandolin for suggesting this to us, that, the encouragement for artists to theme their shows, so if they are doing a series of 3 shows in a month, that one is they're covering this album that they did 10 years ago, and one is an all request show, and that's a good idea. Trying to come up with things that can make them a little bit more, of a variety.
That makes sense. Yeah, and so I think that kind of like, how about like I kind of have a short question for everyone. Like, what streaming service have y'all found is what you like? Kathy, you mentioned something about StreamYard.
StreamYard, yeah.
Okay,
that's what we're using now.
I know, Jared. How about you?
So StreamYard is what we are now using primarily for the home session stuff, because it's very user friendly and easy to put together a broadcast that looks nice like this. We still do some other stuff. We've been using Restream to send out our, if we have things that are pre-recorded, you can upload a 2-hour long video and schedule it to come out as a live stream on Restream. So that's what we've been doing for the pre-recorded stuff. Honestly, we tried so many things along the way also before we arrived at StreamYard, which I'm still I'm only 75% or 80% happy with StreamYard. It's pretty good. It's not perfect. But we went straight to Vimeo or straight to YouTube at first, and then we were doing Vimeo to send to YouTube and Facebook, and then that started crapping out on us a little too frequently. And when we basically checked out every platform you could possibly look at, and this is, we're using OBS, which is free software, to send to Restream if we need to send a direct stream, or to whatever other platform, just with a stream key, so that we can really control exactly what the broadcast is going to look like and really put in good quality audio and video. But it's also a work in progress, every day is a new day, and we're trying to put together a better set of cameras to use. And I'm playing around with now, I've been using Vimeo's live stream studio so that I could have people sending me their streams from different, from wherever their location is, and I could be actually modifying that stream before it goes live. But scrapped that because why would I just add one extra leg of internet traffic that could possibly fail? Cool. So it's now Now I'm playing around with switchers so I can here's this is the sausage being made angle, and then I can picture
God.
myself so I can like, but this is like, a week old, and I'm learning how to use it, just because we envision the more we get towards doing some hybrid of actual live performance with stream, because we can't do full audience live performances, that we're going to need to be able to like tie into a place that has decent enough internet if we're going to be doing a performance there. Even if it's outdoors, we might be able to secure bandwidth enough to put a live stream along. So we're really trying to keep all options open.
Yeah. Honestly, it's like we take what we get. And it looks like, guys, we have a question from the audience. How have your contracts changed with online shows? With the artists, I guess.
Ours are pretty similar, down to the split.
Yeah, we have not offered guarantees at this point. We don't feel like it's something we can do. So it's just a split of the gate.
Yeah, we had a period of time where we were just so uncertain about the situation and the potential viewership that we could reach, that we didn't have guarantees in place. But pretty quickly we got back to them, and we've had those in place. Besides our co-build local showcase nights, we've had guarantees in place for pretty much all the shows, and just the split has been changed. If you go past the guarantee, then there's a different split on the tips than there would be for door tickets.
Great. If there are any other wonderful we got okay, so now we're just going to sorry guys, I'm so new to this platform. I think we're just going to some audience questions right now. It sounds like small venues need highly technical people to be successful with stream shows. Tough to do with all volunteers. Kathy.
I mean, I just lucked into having a local computer guy who has a computer repair shop, who just recently became a Me Thee volunteer, and he studied communication in college, and so he's taken to this like a duck to water, as they say. So I lucked out, but nobody else on our staff or volunteers have been that interested. So yeah, it's tough.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, that was another place where we were fortunate to have, some good audio and video tech available, out of the gate, so that we weren't trying to secure people to be able to do that. It was just a matter of like what we were going to learn how to do, which frankly was a lot of like, okay, it's 11 o'clock. I'm going on YouTube and I'm researching this. And now I'm watching a million YouTube tutorial videos to try to figure out how to do this better. And
yeah, I would say one of the places we were most lucky is having our process already in place and just having to fiddle with a strategy. We already had the people that could run the audio. At least the amount of things that I've had to learn over the last 9 months is I'm grateful for it now, but it's been a stressful process. So I've become a technical person since the pandemic started.
Curious to know if the venues require ticket purchases for live streams or asking for donations from viewers. I feel like we covered that a little bit, right? You guys have found success with the donations. A paywall thing that people have been really quick.
We put a suggested donation of $20, and I would say 90% of the people give $20 or more.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's the thing I'm trying to like distill down to a science, which it's fascinating here that both of you have had a similar experience of like the paywall idea is nice, but you ultimately you're better off making $3 from 1,000 people than $10 from 15 people. And you get so much benefit. I mean, at least we do, from that like live notification on Facebook or YouTube or whatever, to remind people that they should tune in and watch this. And we're, you know, I think we're also wrestling with the like, if we're not going to put the paywall up, are we going to do suggested donation, or are we just going to ask for open donation? Is like, do you make a suggested donation? As if it's too high, does that turn people off? Like, these are the things we're really trying to figure out to, you know, because ultimately monetizing the shows it's important. Like, it keeps us being able to do the shows, and it keeps artists being able to continue to be performing artists in their lives. So, you know, we gotta find ways to do it.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And I can get at, I think, two of the questions that have been asked. The first one being, you know, about the tickets themselves. And I think that this is something that we've touched on already, but just the saturation of the live streams that are out there, the fact that you can, on any given night, especially if you're pretty tuned into the music world, you can find 5-10 different live streams that are happening. And so I think people are pretty reluctant to pay upfront for a virtual experience. And I think the perspective, like the perception of a risk, is higher than people have when they're buying a ticket for a real in-person show, because there's just none of that in-venue experience anymore. And once they're experiencing the show, once they're enjoying the music and connecting with the artists, then I think people have a lot more incentive to actually you know, support them.
I agree.
Yeah. And then the other one is what Ron was saying about splits. We're pretty open about what the split is. You know, when people visit our virtual tip jar, it says, unless there's that we have done some unique agreements, but for the most part, it's split 50-50 between the artist and the venue, and that is above the guarantee. So if it's under the guarantee, we're not splitting it. We're paying the guarantee. But we've tried to frame this as a, you know, the venue needs to survive as well. And we've had, you know, the hashtag for Save Our Stages up on the screen, right above the tip jar link for a couple months now. And, you know, we still do our pre-show announcements in front of the stage and talk about, you know, the importance of supporting the network of venues that give a platform for these artists to play. And, you know, talk about the fact that we're lucky to have the system in place, but a lot of people, a lot of other venues just don't have that ability right now. So that's our typical split. That above the guarantee, it's 50-50 between the venue and the artist. And I think that's probably a unique, I don't think if you're asking someone to stream from home, it would be realistic to ask for that split.
I mean, we're not into thinking that this is going to be a moneymaker for us. I mean, one of our main missions of doing what we've been doing is just to keep our brand alive until we go live in person again. So the costs that we have to cover are the streaming license every month, and any other, you know, PayPal things that we have to pay, and miscellaneous, the phone bill and the internet bill and all that. So it's a minimal amount. So, you know, we've been paying 80% to our artists.
Yeah, and we're fortunate that again, we're, diversified where the venue is in the front part of the Signature Sounds label offices. Right. So, even under ordinary circumstances, it was not in a position of needing to cover its own overhead to exist, which, very few music venues are in a position like that. So, I think we can kind of continue to be flexible and, try to make it work. We pay generally a 70% split to artists in their favor. Cause we do need to cover expenses and staff time. We do want to put in the required tech attention to make sure that people are gonna, come across well. We've also been encouraging people, sometimes artists are like, the way that they are pushing the tip jar online makes it very much sound like they're encouraging people to donate to us. And we're like, we think that your fans want to know that the money that they're giving is going to you. So please make sure that you're not making it sound like we're getting any majority of the money from these streams.
Yeah.
And I'll just respond to the one quick question that, StreamYard pushes out to YouTube and Facebook and all of that. It doesn't push to its own place.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think to Janice too, it's like you're watching this on StreamYard, like this is being broadcast through there. So wherever you're watching it, that's what the StreamYard thing is pushing out.
And we've been like, oh my god, sometimes we publicize with Eventbrite because the links, like email lists, are in Eventbrite, but then people are like emailing Eventbrite and we're like, how do I watch the show? And we're like, you watch it everywhere. Like, like literally, if you can find us on the internet at this time, it will be playing on that spot. Like,
it's been a really a learning experience for all of our patrons. I love 5 minutes before the show starts. I get bombarded with emails to my personal phone and on Facebook. I can't find you. Where are you?
Really anywhere.
Always start your stream before the scheduled stream time.
We do.
So it's like, I don't want to. It's not started yet. It is 7:59.
Yeah.
All right. What were you gonna say, Kathy?
No, I was just saying we have a countdown, that lets people know but we open the doors and we're there for chat at least a good 10 minutes before the show starts.
All right. Well, I mean, we're getting up a little over an hour here, so I kind of just want to round us out. I mean, again, guys, thank you to Reese, Kathy, and Jared at Caffe Lena, Me Thee, and the Parlor Room for hanging out with me tonight. This was an awesome conversation, guys. I really appreciate it. But yeah, so the last question I kind of want to leave us off with, it's like, where are y'all going now? Like, what is the strategy going forward? And like, what are next steps? Especially as we kind of face a winter that might be just as bad as the spring was. I guess, just where your heads are at now.
I mean, I showed you, I'm playing with a new video switcher because we're envisioning, okay, we got more stuff happening live at the Parlor Room. I'm not running all my devices on their own internet connections so that I can try to have multi-camera shoot happening. So try to get the best equipment fed through the least amount of internet bandwidth for those and be able to like stream, whether we're doing shows at the Parlor Room or whether we're doing shows, we're looking at springtime outdoor venue options, really keeping every path open for the moment. We're already, given the nature of having a major festival in July, the conversations about that are already happening. So, just trying to figure out what the spectrum of things that could look like if it's not the normal. Trying to figure that out. And
I was going to say, for people that don't know, Jared works at Signature Sounds, which is a record label, and they run a wonderful festival called Green River Festival in Greenfield, Massachusetts, which is awesome and everyone should go to. But I just wanted to give some context in case.
Great festival.
So good. But yeah, Reese, how about you guys?
So actually, this kind of touches on that question that Chris put up there right as we were ending. I think that one of the silver linings of the complete focus on streaming over the last 9 months is that moving forward, once venues start to ease back into ticketed shows, the live streaming is going to be more prominent anyway, and I think people are going to have more of an understanding that they have a responsibility to support the artists when they're watching these live streams, even if there are people in the room. And I'm hoping that it will obviously the atmosphere of the live stream will be heightened. It'll be a much more authentic concert experience that people will be watching when people are back in the room. But I'm hoping that people will have come to the understanding that if you're watching a live performance, even if it's online, you should pitch in and support the people that are doing it. And I think that's coming across, and I hope that will carry through. So I'm hoping that venues are able to, obviously it's a tough time right now because it's the only thing bringing in money. But I'm hoping that it'll be sort of more of an additional revenue stream. And then the other thing that we're hoping to do and starting to do next month is trying to share our resources a little bit more and be a collaborator. We're co-presenting a show on the 14th with Me Thee. So sharing our stage, and there are so many other great venues that are out there that that share a pool of people that play on our stages, and hopefully we'll be able to take the consistent quality that we've built up over the last couple months and broadcast that out with some partners.
Great. Awesome. And that live show is with Marcarelli, so it's going to be happening at Caffe Lena, and it's sponsored by Me Thee. I don't know. It's in collaboration. I don't know. It's going to be awesome. What is it, January 14th, you said?
That's right.
January 14th, yeah.
Awesome. And so everyone should absolutely check that out. Yeah, and Kathy, I think you're up and to round us out.
So, what do we get? Well, we're going to keep on keeping on, at least through the spring, and play it by ear as far as when we'll be going back live. But I've got a couple of ideas that I don't feel like I can express right now without discussing it with our board. But I've got a couple of things that I'm thinking on. So I think expect to see some news coming up in the spring about some new opportunities.
Awesome.
For virtual shows, and we'll probably also be thinking seriously about putting more equipment in the building once we can get into the building. We haven't been able to get into the building since March, so that would mean doing some tweaking of the electrical system probably. But so we're looking forward to it.
Amazing. Well, guys, you are all so wonderful. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy
it's a
schedule.
delight.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, guys, I really appreciate this. NERFA really appreciates this. Again, my name is Izzy Heltai. I'm on the programming committee here at NERFA. Now, NERFA 365. We're gonna have kind of programming going on all year round, including 2 workshops or panels a month going forward in the new year. So yeah, thanks for hanging out with us, guys. It was a pleasure.
Absolutely.